Hello everyone. It's time for our presentation called Friday Night Spiritual Insights with Michael Mirdad. So thanks for joining us. Today, sort of as a continuation, since questions keep coming in relation to our current situation on the planet, but I'm not wanting to be redundant, so I want to take this a different direction. So I'm going to call this isolation or incubation. You choose. So people are feeling like they're supposed to be isolated right now. And I think that a different way of looking at that is to think of it as an incubation period. Now, what's the difference? Well, an incubation period, from this context as I'm using it, is a time to kind of, be in a chrysalis, be in a womb, preparing for a birth. And when the child is being prepared for a birth, think about it, there's all kinds of things going on in that gestation period. I mean, there's a building, everything is building from a matrix that was given to it, however that may be, genetics and spirit and all that. It's gestating, it's creating, it's formulating. Well, do you want to be formulating for your new birth, or do you want to just sit there and, I'm in isolation, So you could be a different hand mudra, I'm in incubation, Om, or it could be I'm in isolation, different hand mudra. So think about which is more important. And something I shared in a recent talk, and people really went wow to that, is that in this period of time that you and I, everybody's asked to kind of have more time of incubation, how do you want to be when you come out, when you finally are released? Do you want to be just kind of a beat up looking old moth, or do you want to be a beautiful, gorgeous butterfly? It's our choice, really. It's our choice. I know it doesn't seem like it because we're being told this and we're being told that, and so, but that's just the outside. That's also something that we chose to have as it is right now. So let's just accept that. Now, some of us are still going about our lives. I mean, I'm still doing presentations. I'm still cleaning my house. I still have to run errands and take care of things. But more and more, there's a constricting. You can hate that. You can minimize it and pretend it's not. You can try to deny that it's happening. You can handle that many ways. But for the most part, to thine own self be true. Know the truth, though. The truth is that you're fine. Everybody is holy children of God. But play the game too, be careful. Do understand that whether it's a virus from 10 years ago, a virus from today, a virus from 50 years from now, whatever, that when even if you're not getting sick, but you pick up a virus, you can still pass it along. And so it's kind of helpful and respectful that for every exponential experience here, one person, even if they don't have symptoms, passes it on, can get many, many others sick. And even if you got just 5 others picked up something, 3 from you, 2 people from you, they passing it along becomes an exponential number that you don't want to be responsible for. So very, very much take care. Yes, some of us seem more isolated, in terms of where we live geographically. Some of us seem more healthy or whatever it might be. That's not the point. I see some texts and emails and posts where people are like, but I'm fine and I feel healthy. And others, people are going, but I don't understand. A friend of mine got it and got sick, but they're so loving. Viruses are not for unloving people. That would be a strange assumption for you or I to make. It is what it is, and anything that happens to anybody, there's lessons involved. Yours might not even be to have symptoms, but to deal with annoying behaviors of people or annoying newscasts about it, or whatever. It is what it is. Whatever's in front of you is what your experience is, and it reveals some of your lessons that as it is for you. Remember that we're supposed to be miracle workers. Now, I know that there's some shows and some stations and some presentations, conspiracies and hate, that's their business. But my job is to say, guys, are we or are we not made in the image of God? In a program like this, we generally say yes. There's going to be one in every 100 or 200 of you watching that's going to have some completely different take. But we're children of God. We're holy beings, and our job is to bring forgiveness to the world. That's not forgiving bad people, bad pharmaceutical companies, bad conspiracies and governments. And as soon as you perceive them as bad, needing forgiveness, you're still not getting it. It's with happiness and relief I get to bring an attitude of gratitude, an attitude of forgiveness to all the world, and they then can heal. You'll quicken them. Like imagine a movie where Jesus, Telete kumi, he says to a girl in Aramaic, arise, little girl, arise, come back. Lazarus, come forth. Imagine the scene like in Jesus of Nazareth or any movie where Jesus is commanding that beautiful little girl that's dead, come to life. Now, quicken. His love is so perfect that when he looks into that soul and says, there is no such thing as death, there is but God. So wake up now. She has no other option. It's like, oh my goodness, wow, thank you. And that's what you and I are supposed to be doing with every kind of person, sick, not sick, patient, impatient, whatever the case may be. It's easily said. Maybe I'll still have this really kind of up attitude and up feeling. Maybe I'll pull it off throughout this whole duration. Maybe I'll get pushed to annoyance tomorrow. My job is to do my best. If I slip, it's to bounce back. Could I possibly imagine just wanting to lose my mind spiritually and my integrities spiritually and just descend into hate and so on? No, it's not really my thing at all. And I don't think I will. If I slip, I'll slip. But I can't picture myself letting myself go too far or for too long. And that's the attitude I think we're all supposed to be holding. I'm not telling you to be like me. I'm just saying be like your real self as best you can. And I'm just doing my best to model that, for me and as well as for you. So this is a period, and we're all going through interesting things. But is it incubation or is it really just isolation? Are you feeling isolated? What perspective do you have of this? And what judgments does it bring up, if any? And if so, forgiveness. And when you see other people just, in a plight of poor things, sick and all that, it's still the same job. Love, 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 forgive, forgive, forgive. Remember, love and forgiveness are the same. Forgiveness is simply a human attribute or aspect of love. But it's still a part of love. It's a facet or aspect of love. So think about this when you're dealing with your day-to-day stuff. And some people are also writing in and emailing in more specific questions like a psychic said, this could be this and this could be that. And, I'm usually correct with the guidance I get. And people around me and my team members would be able to tell you how specifically they've been asking questions. Which companies are going to do this, which companies are going to do that, where are the ups, where are the downs, how long will this last, etc. And it's been, pretty accurate. I'm not competing or comparing. I'm just saying when some of you are hearing, I'm hearing that in a matter of a couple of weeks, the entire world is going to go dark for a few days. And a lot of people are talking about this whole concept, that it's predicted. A lot of psychics are picking up on it. And that is not what I'm getting. And if it does come to me, I'll say, this is what I'm getting. That's not what I'm getting. Months ago, I got a download from me. I can't remember. I think it was maybe in the wee hours of the morning. And I woke up with it, where this virus was being translated into different terminology as to what it was going to be, what it was going to do and not do in one phrase. That came to me, which I've never shared with you, and I will not tell you what I heard for various reasons. But what I heard was what is going to, what this is going to be about, what's going to happen. So I'm pretty clear. And then also other guidance came about whatever, it's not going to be just a few days. It's, I knew it was going to last longer. Now they're saying it's going to be, it could be weeks. This is going to take up to years to really get a handle on. But that doesn't mean I'm saying it's all going to last that long in its overt form or its most externalized form, economically and all that, or people having to shelter and all that. But it's, I've already shared, what's going to happen, a lot of what's going to happen and not happen. But so some of you are asking, okay, is this also the end of days? I already told you that, that the beginning of the end started first with the birthing of a lot of souls that were going to be the midwives of the change. That's you and me. Everybody, people born in the 50s at the earliest, but certainly around 1958, 60. Edgar Casey said 58. So thereabouts, 50s, 60s. Doesn't mean if you were born in the 40s you couldn't be spiritual. It's not that at all. I'm just talking about a wave. Some people are exceptions to the rule and came in a little earlier than the rest. But the main wave came in end of the 50s and into the early 60s and came in with that wave of peace and love, of the 60s. We started anchoring it in with the new books and things coming out in the 70s and 80s. Then the new technologies, we started using new technologies, internet websites, the 90s and so in 2000s. But by the 2010s, it's the social media. So what's happening is there's this vehicle that's been very much abused, of course, social media, and the people that own social media, the people that own some of the big computer companies. There's been a lot of very shady behaviors and dealings. That's their problem. That's their business. Rome built a nation, but Jesus still came into that nation and taught within the time of the Romans. So it doesn't mean that good can't be found there. So within all these things, you and I are supposed to be using them for a higher purpose, which we are, obviously. So, things are changing, and we brought in this wave of people, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and also some of that, we're the bridge, because some of that new millennial people, like indigos and so forth, indigo children, crystal children, and so on, they're sort of the fruits of us being the bridge. We are the bridge. We're the ones who have had the challenging task to go from old school to a new way of living. And that's not easy. So what we're experiencing now as a sort of a chrysalis and a incubation, we also did as a nation, as a world, a race, in terms of time, 50s, 60s, we did that. So if you think about it, we've done as a humanity what we're now doing microcosmically with this one particular crisis. So that's what's going to happen. And is it the end? I said the beginning of the end started with good birthing of midwives. But the beginning of the end still involves, some of you are asking any particular tragedies and big things like that. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I've been telling that for 40 years. And some people, oh no, And then what'll happen is I'll say this, and then somebody will come out and say, I'm a psychic and it's going to happen in 1983 or whatever, make up a number. And then it doesn't happen. And I'm saying, no, it's not going to happen. And everybody's on to the psychic who says it, the prophet or whatever they call themselves, the clairvoyant, the whatever channel that says it. And then it's the 90s. And I'm like, no, it isn't. And then it doesn't happen. I don't seem to win a lot of fans except really, really faithful together people. They're always fewer than the masses. But the exciting predictions, this is going to happen and everybody should worry. Whether it's good news or whether it's bad news that they should worry about. People love excitation. So they all, they go with that channel, then they go with that channel. And even I can lose students because channeling starts to look like it has no integrity and accuracy. So some people won't even be interested in listening to me because they just put it all together in one basket. So, I've said, again, no, that's not the time. No, that's not the time. But we are within a generation of it. So this is within now a generation. This is it. When people asked 2012, I said no. I mean, at 2012, the evening of the critical mass date, I was doing a lecture at a conference. It's not like I hid at home because I expected it. It wasn't going to happen like that. But it went from the birthing, the midwives helping to birth something, 50s, 60s, And then it's gradually reaching adolescence, 70s, which people acted like it, 70s and into the 80s, but starting to mature and try new things and website technologies, now social media. So now what's going to happen is that we're entering a time where the stuff starts to show up now. It's not the birthing and so on. Now it's, and here comes what we were birthed for. First, the darkness of the womb, and then the light at the end of the tunnel. So humanity is going to go through a dark night of the soul like they've never done before. Closest thing would have been living in Atlantis and having it completely obliterated. And really, the Great Flood is the Great Floods. Every landmass that was flooded, and they all were during the Great Flood, because partly asteroid and other earth changes, that all happened, and that's kind of what we're heading for. So pandemics, yes. I'm not saying this to be all doom and gloom. It's just going to be birth pains. That doesn't mean we can just put a glorious, fun name on it, like there's going to be a baby coming soon. It's true, but it still hurts when you're having the birth pains. So there's going to be pandemics, but this isn't by any means the one. This is a precursor, and I won't get into more detail about that, but as tempting as it might be, no, I'll steer clear for now. But there's going to be another pandemic down the road in some of the people watching in our lifetime. Others you'll be passed on, thank goodness. But you might be back right away to be part of that birthing, that beauty of that birthing. But yes, there will be all kinds of strange things like this, and any great prophet psychic of the past explained to humanity, you're not going to move to some hideaway and be immune to it. And even if you did hide away in some bomb shelter, you're going to be just miserable anyway, so that's not going to help. I mean, who wants to hang out with somebody that, hasn't showered in a year? So it's like, just kick the door open and say, kill me now, man. Can't smell this anymore. I'm kidding, but not. So it's live where you can thrive internally. Some of you are going to need to be on the coasts when things happen like that. Earth changes. And earth changes will come. And some of you are saying, well, what's this? There's this big story about a few days of blackness. Well, I don't want people hanging on to my every word. But I also can say, I do not believe we're going into a few days of darkness. That prediction, which has also been predicted by Mother Mary, so I'm not contradicting her, when she gave visions to children throughout the world like Fatima and Garabandal, and also Fatima, Garabandal and Medjugorje, just as an example of a few. So she has explained there's going to be a period of darkness. That darkness that's going to happen it's hard to explain. And most people have no idea what it means. They just hear about it or have channeled some messages around it. So the people that are talking about it are not wrong. They're just picking up on the collective mind of us that says this is going to happen. But their timing is probably off. And I will say I'm 80% certain the timing is not now, but it could change. I could get a message today about that. But what I can tell you is that is going to happen. But the blackness, everything going black, power off everything, that's really going to be, there's two versions of that. One is a precursor to sort of a sign that it's now coming. Everything else is going to now go wrong, hit the fan. But that's also what's going to happen, everything goes black, when the end of the end is happening and there's a pole shift. And yes, there's going to be a pole shift. So I don't know how far you all want me to go with this in terms of the details. So I'm going to leave it at the pole shift, because that's where it kind of is the climactic ending. That's where it all gets shaken, sneezed. I call it like the planet Kachu. Everything gets wiped so that we can sort of start fresh. Sounds really kind of refreshing, but the destruction it causes or brings about doesn't feel very refreshing at all for a moment. But then the light comes back after a period of darkness, as it always does, because this is nothing but a global dark night of the soul. And so Michael teaches this. Is the blackness coming? A few days of darkness. Is this coming? Is this pandemic? Earth changes? Okay, your job, it doesn't matter what's coming. Your job is going to be the same. What if I said to you, yes, this is going to be the period where it all goes dark, so make sure you have generators and so on and so on. Well, it's too late. If you didn't already buy those, I'm just going to frustrate you by telling you you should have done this or that. So that's not going to help. Our job is love and forgiveness. Our job is internal. It's in consciousness, not in actions. If you can get the actions together, that's fine. But if this is happening right now, you're not going to have time to do that anyway. So let it be. We get to, well, Michael, because I'm tuning into some of the questions that have been asked and some of the ones you're asking right now as I'm tuning into what you would be asking. Are there things you can do? Remember, as I said, every day you can still do your internal work during this incubation period. Instead of making it isolation, make it healthy, make it valuable. So incubate, do something great, bring something forward. Is there something you can do? Well, is there something you can do on the outside? Well, no, not right now. However, I will say this now. If things come back and, they start to stabilize, and they're saying now, a couple weeks or a few weeks down the road, it could take a little longer and so forth. They're predicting how many people could pass away. I think their number's off. And I've been right about that so far too, but that's another story. What I'm going to say is this. Let's not just go, I just pray everything's going to be fine and I'm praying for everybody's healing. Guys, don't pray for external things to be nice, because that means you're wanting to put it all in place so that your obsessive compulsive mind of, I want my life to be all perfect, I want my life to be all perfect, and as long as everybody's healthy again and Disneyland's open again, now I don't have to work on myself so hard. Don't buy into that, okay? Instead, our job is to say, if this comes back together, which it's going to, but if things come back together for a period, this is the last time I'm going to go back to being like I ever was. Never going to be the same. It's like saying this is the last time I get married and divorced and not make major changes. Instead of just getting married again, instead of just getting back to the same job you don't like, instead of the same old, don't. Make an absolute concerted effort to say no to that. Say instead, that's it. This was the last wake-up call. Now it's time for Edenshire, or now it's time for me to, whatever it is, get in our 1-year course on awakening, spiritual awakening. Get on to a self-help program somewhere. Get into recovery. Get into codependent work with a counselor. Do something to where you'd never be the same. And make it measurable so that you don't just get into something and go, okay, well, I'm kind of into recovery. Get into something like recovery, whatever it is, that you're going to say to yourself months from now, wow, look at the difference. Make it measurable so you know. Look at the difference. I am clean, or I am now not the same codependent that I was. Get into a place where you're sharing a different you with the world. You're here to help heal the world. It's your only function. We did a talk called Purpose and it was priorities and about priorities and purpose versus people's preferences. That's a talk I did at Unity of Sedona. It's free. Go watch it on YouTube, or Unity of Sedona might have it on their website still. I don't know how that works with our Facebook shows and all that. But it's free, but watch it because it talks about that. Really got into detail about soul's purpose and doing things differently. So consider that. Consider I'm different and I'm not going back. I myself am already, I'm already there. I'm already at the other end, man. I mean, I'm still doing what I need to do here. There, staying home and isolation, or, we'll call it incubation. But what they're calling imposed isolation, these mandatory things. I'm doing my best to respect the illusion and play the game and all that. That's fine. But but I'm still feeling quite alive and I'm feeling inspired. If the world's going to go dark and end, or even end next month, how did it end? What were you doing when it ended? I was cleaning house inside and out. I was working on healthiness. I'm still answering calls and doing sessions on the phone, helping people. I'm still advising people. To me, if it's the end, now is not the time to be clasping and clutching your last 2 pennies. It's like, well, if somebody else is going to go hungry without my 2 pennies, I can give it to them, then we'll go hungry together, instead of sucks to be them. That's not a spiritual affirmation. When did you ever hear Gandhi say, Buddha, and there it was, Siddhartha Buddha, 500 BC, looked upon the crowds and said, sucks to be you. No way, come on. This is not Christ consciousness. So that's just my style. And I do what I do and I am what I am, and it feels fairly congruent. And when this passes, I'm probably going to be even more adamant with telling the world, because they're going to start trying to lull themselves to sleep again. Oh, thank God that's over. Let's just go back to the same old. I'm just not going to do that. My mind is already on inspirations. My mind is already like, cool, now we'll do this and that. And, I'm not like giving up or feeling futile. Some people are struggling financially. That means they won't sign up for the few things I do that for pay. So I'll be affected like anybody else. And it is what it is. How can I be helpful is going to be the mantra. It should be the mantra. But my last point here is that one of those inspirations is, drum roll, right now we're putting together this thing. It just came to me 2 days ago, and I woke up and said, and I went online and announced it to my Friends of Michael Mirdad Facebook group and said, hey guys, I have this idea. Much to the, I'm playfully saying much to the chagrin of my team, because I'm like, hey guys, can we do a conference call? They get on the phone and I go, guess what? We're going to create a, almost like a TV station, but it'll be a Zoom channel, a Zoom program on that program called Zoom, where we'll have a group, and people are at home and they're a little, not only frustrated, maybe bored, but also maybe they're wanting to have community, but they're not allowed to have physical community. So why don't we just create an online community? Almost like we did the Spiritual Awareness Conference recently, the Global Spiritual Awakening Conference. It was so cool. So for 24 hours or whatever it was, we had teaching, people learning, and spiritual teachers and musicians and poets or whatever it happened to be, and vendors. Absolutely beautiful. It was still a conference. It was still for pay, and it was only known teachers. And I think that's beautiful. And I think that that's a trend that we are sort of starting by doing that. However, all of a sudden I had another idea, and I don't know of anybody else doing it, but it's like, and my team members, the poor people, man, those poor girls. So it's like, okay, well, what do you want us to do? Well, let's do this, and let's have like 12 hours or, whatever number of hours. It'll start in the morning and go to the evening, where anybody around the world could still pick a time that they're awake and we're awake. We're always having something happening, like a TV station, but more like a live, like a Jerry Lewis telethon, something's happening every hour. And so we'll have, people juggling squirrels, or, whatever it's going to be, poems. But when it isn't a person scheduled, then we'll just talk. And, we'll see, you'll see, let's say there's 100 people in it. You'll have 100 people. You won't see all of them because your screen will only fit so many. But let's say, you can see 30 of them, and you can scroll to where you see other people throughout. And they raise a hand. Say, I'd like to ask a question. They ask a question. It isn't going to be just me. Does anybody have any feedback? Like we're all in a room together, and it's a virtual room, but we're all or as Inspector Clouseau would say, a room. So we're all going to be in a room sharing, and we get to have you read a poem to people throughout the world. We get to have you. We get to, not have to. We get to have a teaching. We get to have a reading. Because some of you will say, well, here, I'm going to spread some cards and do a reading on today. And, oh, it's this card, Odin, or the Magician card, or whatever. And tell us, share with us all what that means, what we might want to access within ourselves to improve our day, etc. So you're not expected to watch it for 12 hours. The point is that any time you're going to sit down and have lunch, maybe you can put it on. Maybe you're bored. Maybe you're frustrated, scared. You watch it to pick something up that might make a difference. Now, I would do that myself if I had to. I'd sit here for 12 hours and just keep talking and channeling whatever needs to be done. And I thought about that. That was coming to me like a month ago. And I was going, really? I'm going to announce that I'm going to do something that's never been done before. One teacher, isn't this like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington or something like that? Never saw the movie, but where the congressman just keeps talking and as long as he can until something gets passed. So I thought, really? The inspiration was coming that for 24 or possibly 12 hours, I'm just going to teach and show it can be done. Show that we can just channel the presence of God, the wisdom or whatever of God, the healing, a frequency right here, right now for all that time. You won't need the washroom, you won't need whatever. You don't need to eat, just to sit and channel it. And I know I could do it with ease. And I know some of you know that I would be able to do that with ease. But that's what's interesting about receiving guidance. Because I thought, okay, so I'm going to be, this is months ago. Okay, so I'm going to be doing 24 hours or 12 hours. Okay, I'm open. I'm just waiting to see, like, when is that going to be? The time wasn't coming to me. So I thought, well, when is that going to be? And it's very likely that what I heard is this, where it isn't going to be just me, but 12 to 48 hours, 24 hours, 12 to 24 hours, it'll be us. And I'm just as fine with that. It's all the same to me. We're going to do something fantastic. So we're going to provide community, friendship, support, presence, nurturance, comfort to people online. And it won't matter. Sometimes 5 of you might be on, and sometimes it could be 500. We're only going to really advertise or announce this to people on Michael Mirdad's Grail Productions mailing list, my own professional company, Grail Productions. That's my tour company, my teaching. To them, to my ministry, which is the Foundation for Christ Consciousness group. There are people that help support my ministry overall. And to Unity of Sedona. If it goes out beyond that, that's great. But right now, that's all we're thinking about doing. We're not trying to make this like there's not a profitable part because I don't know that we're charging anything. So it's not like we need to get out to the world. And it's not my call to make sure our personal little nurturance family, spiritual family group needs to reach the whole world. Because even when you have the Zoom program, they're not screening as much. They used to have easier methods to keep certain people in and out of those kinds of things. It's trying to go a little more, I think, from what I'm hearing, the direction of Facebook, where anybody can get on. So if we're having our group, you could get just some person on there that starts just, foul-mouthing and slandering what you're sharing from your heart. And I'm really not interested in that. So I'll keep it to what would presume our healthy group. And if anybody in our healthy group decides to be unhealthy, they'll be unhealthy in somebody else's group, but not in ours. This is going to be kept very sacred. Not because we're trying to be better than the rest of the world, but because we're trying to create a womb or a chalice in which great things can be birthed without distraction. So that's that. So, I know some of you are already onto it and you're all, digging it already. You'll want to, if you want to help volunteer, because what I said to my team, they're like, so, okay, well, this sounds really exciting. So what day of the week would that be? And I'm like, you mean what times? No, what day? I'm like, well, every day? They're like, okay. So it was very beautiful of them to kind of, roll with it. That's one of their gifts and blessings, that they get that when something's an inspiration, they just know. And it always works. God, to be plugged in to be a little psychic is cool. You're accurate, sometimes you're not accurate. But when you plug into Christ consciousness, your accuracy rises, your inspirations rise. When I get ideas, they almost always work. Even if it's just ideas to put a new plant in my yard, or somebody else, hey, you ought to think about a tree there. Wow, I never thought that was perfect. Ideas come fruitfully to any of us who choose to plug in to that, that vibe, that frequency of Christ consciousness. It's not just a little this or that. It's like a trillion times greater than being a little bit psychic. Your accuracy, your inspirations, the effect of your inspirations, the excitement and love it brings to people, the healing level, all of that. It's just quite beautiful. So see if you're interested. If you'd like to be a volunteer, as far as I know what a volunteer would entail, it means that you're watching and you say yes to this person to read a poem, and then you turn them on, then you turn them off, and then somebody else, you bring them in, bring them out. It sort of means just monitoring that, okay? And then also, you can still take breaks, because if somebody's doing, like, let's say a 5-minute song, you can run to the washroom or do something like that. But you're deciding, somebody's raised their hand, let them in, not let them in, whatever the case may be. Or they might ask questions. And you might say, okay, everybody, we have a question that came in, let's address it. Can anybody share insights about this? Do not plan on being somebody who's going, this is going to be my opportunity, my minutes of fame, I'm going to preach to them all. We'll either say stop, or we'll just delete you from the group. You're not going to preach at people. You can share your perspective and say, here's how it feels for me, or here's what I'm going through. Don't, what you people need to do is this. As soon as you start putting it in that context, finger pointing, whether it's blame and shame or whether it's corrective, I'm telling you, we're not interested in that either. Just, God, humble, man. Just bring humility, and with awe, excitement, humility, bring this beauty that you have, that you are. Some of you have said, I'd like to share some dance, or it could be yoga. We're going to have Reiki. Somebody already said, I'd love to teach Reiki. After many years of being a practitioner and teacher and all that. So you can learn Reiki 1 or whatever, let's say, for free. Maybe we'll accept donations somehow, I don't know. But this is our spiritual family. So it's kind of like we're hanging out in a living room, in a house, living together, community. And so who's cooking today? Oh, I'll cook. Who's going to wash dishes? Oh, I'll do it. Not who has to, but who gets to. So we're going to have people that are going to be, needing more people still to be monitoring. We have a couple already, but we need some help, volunteers with monitoring. But we also are looking for people that want to share their gift. If we say no, please don't take it personal. It might be that we already have 5 yoga practitioners, or it could be whatever, timing or other reasons. We're just going to do our best. Because I have felt for, I don't know, maybe a year now, a strong sense of a lot of folks, they want to be involved more with this work that we do. And some of them can't afford actual workshops, which is fine. We do lots of things for free. Most things we do are for free. But I can just feel it. Like this would be like an online internet version of Edenshire, meaning a spiritual community, and yet it's being done like this instead of at a residence, at a community where we have land and fresh air and all that. Well, we're gonna do it right here with each other. If it still manifests, I'm gonna do that. But we have this, so that's just the way I do things. I get an inspiration. I'm like, wow, and occasionally a steering away. Like I thought it was me for 12, 24 hours, and it's us. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. I guess because my mind thought, well, I'm going to be doing this, so I thought I'm going to be doing this, and I was right. I'm going to be doing it. I only missed a piece of and bringing others in. And it's like, wow, what a great miracle. Where 2 or more are gathered, butts get kicked. That's paraphrasing once again, sorry. So we're going to just really do some great butt kicking, some good, cool, power-packing stuff to this world, guys. What a difference. And starting with us, let's be there for each other. And it's possible that, like family, once you get too close, you get annoyed and complacent, you get to take things for granted. You might find yourself tempted with that sort of thing. We'll handle it lovingly, responsibly, like families should and usually don't. You know, extend one hand of peace first, and when that doesn't work, slap them upside the head with the other one. Boy, I'm just in a paraphrase mood, aren't I? Okay, anyway, so thank you guys for taking this time. I'm glad I got to teach as well as share this thing that we're starting. But I definitely wanted to do both. I felt, like I was going to be doing both, so I'm glad it happened. So thank you, and peace to you, peace to you. Find this frequency of peace in the deep recesses of your soul, where you're undisturbed by all the stuff of the world, past, present, or future. That's not really that easy, only because we forgot. Most of us have gotten too far away from that center, that peace. But, let's find it and let's share. Let's bring inspirations. God, it's great because some of you said, I don't understand what I'm living here for. I had this feeling to write a book, but now the world's gone topsy-turvy, and what do I do with my book? Maybe come onto the show and share the main premise, the point of your book. Teach for 15 minutes. Maybe that's what it was for. And you thought it was a book, just like I thought I was doing a 24 or 12-hour program, and it's me and us. So maybe your book is supposed to be written and shared in a 15-minute program. You don't know. Trust me, you don't know for sure. We often get the inspirations right, but the exact form it's going to take might be different. Oh, I can't wait. We're having a baby. It's going to be a little girl, and it's a boy. I still have a baby. I still have a child. I still have a creation, and I'm going to raise them with love. Just, it's different. Let's paint the room different color now. Anyway. So it feels really good. Thank you for everything, and my heart still, is there with everybody, knowing that there's struggle, and the struggle isn't the real thing, but we still have to deal with it to some degree. And don't buy into it. Don't overly fret it. Don't destroy your soul or other people's soul over it. Just do your best to say, you know what, it's time. I'm delving into Christ consciousness. One thing I would advise is, don't delve into Christ consciousness with a half, baked attitude of like, well, I'm doing this because I want to have my ducks in a row in case everything goes badly. At least I'll be lined up with Christ. That's not the right reason. That's like, the person that acts like a complete jerk 6 days a week and goes to church on the seventh day and thinks they're good to go for another week. That's bogus. Really hear it and feel it while I'm speaking this. And mind you, before, during, and after I speak this, but if you're hearing this feeling while I'm speaking it, that I'm just ready. There's a call coming from the throne of God itself, down through the Holy Spirit and the Christ consciousness, into humanity, trying to awaken that very Christ in us. And I'm ready to step up. I'm ready to be part of that. I'm really, really feeling the call. I'm hearing it, feeling it, sensing it, knowing it. Try that. Try to latch on to those reins, to be able to say, wow, the horses and the chariot, I know where they're going now. I hear the call, and here we go. That's the attitude to have, okay? If you don't, people that don't are going to end up trampled by the very horses of the forces of life that will take different forms to help people wake up, either the easy way or the hard way. Okay? So God bless you all, and thank you so much. Peace to you, and by all means reach out if I can help you in any way. Thanks. Bye-bye.